So let's treat question 2D, isn't it? Now, question 2D says, yesterday when I did question 2C, we stopped at add job, taking job number and priority as parameter, isn't it? Then store the job in the next few array element. Output added if the job was added. Output not added if the job was not added, isn't it? And we wrote this code yesterday, if you guys can still remember this. And this was where I stopped. Now, on question 2D, it says the main program should call procedure initialize. So I can write a function for the main program and write that def main, isn't it? You guys understand what I'm doing, right? You know it's not compulsory to put it in the function, isn't it? Okay, def main. Call the procedure initialize. When you call procedure initialize, does it require any parameter? Does it return anything? I don't need a variable to save or to pass anything. So the question says call the procedure initialize and use add job procedure to store the following jobs in the given order. So store each of the job using what? Using this function add job. Is that understood? So let's call add job. Add job. How many parameters does add job need? One is what? Number, and the second is what? Priority. So what is the job number? 12, priority is 10. So I have to write 12, 10. Okay. So I have to write this how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. Because I need to pass how many values? 5 values. Is that understood? That was why it says use add job to store the following jobs in the given order. And you can only use this add job to add one job, isn't it? Not to add 2. Can you still remember? Only to add 1. So you have to call this how many times? 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then change the parameters. 5, 2, 6, 9. Then this should be 5, 2, 6. And this should be 9. And 33, 8. 78, 1 is the last one. Then I have this as 78, then 1. Is that understood? So this has been called 5 times. If you like, you may use a for loop for this. If you like. Okay. If you want to use a for loop, you just use for num in range of what? Of 5. Because this will run from 0 to 4, isn't it? Then you call what? Add. No, I think you can put all this value in an array, isn't it? In an array. I don't think I will want to do that because that will take my time. First and foremost, I have to store all this to an array, then use a for loop and pass the values there one by one. So that will take my time and I don't think I want to do that. So the best thing to do is to call each function one by one like I've done earlier. Although you can also use the for loop. Use an array to store the job number and the job priority, but that will take more lines of code and more time. But this is what? This is faster and shorter. Is that understood? Now the next question states, write the program, code this that has been done, isn't it? And perform the tasks described. So have we asked to run the code? Not yet, isn't it? Not yet. Now question E. Question E. Question E states that if you don't put this, okay, let me go to the question. When a new job has been added, the array is sorted. That means for every new job that was added, the array is always sorted. Is that understood? So that means when you added this, the array will be sorted. Added this, array will be sorted. When you add another one, array will be what? Sorted. Is that understood? So it says for every job that has been added, the array is sorted into what? Ascending numerical order of priority. Ascending numerical order of priority. Not ascending numerical of job order. You know, there are two numbers here, right? We have the job number, and we also have the what? Priority. So we are not asked to sort in what? In order of job number. What are we asked to sort? in order of priority. Is that understood? And if you are not careful in this type of question, you will have forgotten what you read here if you are not careful. You will just continue to sort, forgetting what you read here. That's why before you start solving your problem, make sure you understand the instruction or the information that was given to you earlier. Is that understood? Make sure you understand it properly. Because now that we are to sort in ascending order of priority, that means what is the lowest priority? 10. The highest priority is what? 1. We should go from what? 10 to 1. Is that understood? So in your mind, you should know that your algorithm should work in descending and not ascending when you are comparing the two values. Is that understood? So you should work with what? With the descending algorithm and not the ascending algorithm. Is that understood? If the question says in order of what? In order of job number. So that means you have to look at job number. So what if this question says 0 is the lowest, 1000 is the highest? What does that mean? You go from 0 to 1000. Is that understood? It depends on the question. But the question says in ascending order of what? Of priority. Is that understood? Now, write program code for the procedure insertion sort. So we have to write program code for insertion sort. So if you did not write your main program in a function, your new function should come before the main program. Is that understood? If you did not put this main program in a function, write your new function before the main program. Is that understood? But if you put your main program in a function, you can write your new function anywhere. Understood? Anywhere, whether before or after. So def. So what is the name of the function? Insertion sort. Insertion what? Sort. Does it require any parameter? No. But what is it sorting? It's sorting the array, isn't it? The 2D array. That means I need the global variable, isn't it? Good. So let me go and bring what is the number variable? Number of jobs and jobs. So global number of jobs, global jobs. Understood? So now I want to sort this in order of what? Of priority, isn't it? Now to use insertion sort, like I told you, when you want to use insertion sort, you need a table. When you are working with 2D array, like I always tell you, make sure you have a table to visualize your data. Because if you don't visualize your data, it will be difficult for you to solve. Are you all following me? So what column are we sorting? Column 2, isn't it? We are sorting column 2. Now, where do we start from? Do we start from the next row or the first row? The next row. Is that understood? The next row. So how do we write the code? We write it that for what? For num in range of what? Next row is what? Is row 1. Is that correct? Because the next row is row 1. Are you following me? In range 1 to what? To length of what? Jobs. The length of array. Because the length of array is what? We return the number of rows. Yes or yes? Are you all following me? The length of array what? We return the number of rows. So that means we are starting from row 1 up to the end of the rows. Is that understood? Is that understood? So should I go from row 1 to the length of array? No. Should it be the length of array? Because if I say to the length of array, that is going to sort all the minus 1, isn't it? It should be what? Number of jobs and not length of array. Because this array has values. It has values of what? Of minus 1/3. So if you write length of array, that means it will do it how many times? 100 times. But do we have 100 elements in 100 jobs in this array? How many jobs do we have in this array? 5 and not 100. So that means we should only take only the 5 rows and not all the 100 rows. Is that understood? Is that understood, everyone? So you guys all understand the reason why we cannot use length of array, right? Because the array has 100 rows, but we only have 5 jobs. Is that understood? So that means I should write what? I should write for I in what? instead of length of job, I should write what? Number of jobs. So if number of jobs is 5, it goes from 1 to 5. If number of jobs is 100, it goes from 1 to 100. Is that understood? Sorry, 1 to 99, because number of jobs will not get to 100, isn't it? And so on. So you now use this for loop to pick each of the rows, isn't it? So after picking the rows, where do we start from now? What row do we start from? We start from row what? Row 1, isn't it? Then we will now compare column 1, row 1, column 1 with row 0, column 1. Is that understood? Because we are going to compare the priorities, not the numbers. We'll compare 9 with 10. Is that understood? So like I said, we are comparing 9 to 10. 9 is at where? Is at row 1, column what? Column 1. So that means that I can save, let me say temp 1 is equal to row 1, column 1. Is that understood? So that will be jobs 1. And 1 is what? Num, because that 1 is the row, and column what? Column 1, because we are only dealing with one column. Is that understood? And what is the one we are comparing it to? Let me call it temp 2 to make my work easier. Are you all following me? I will call it what? Jobs what? Num. Is it job num? Is job what? Num minus 1, but column 1. Is that understood, everyone? Is that understood? So that was why I say whenever you are working with a 2D array, you must always have the picture in your mind or draw it in your question paper. If you don't have the picture, you may not know what you are doing. I am comparing 9 to 10. Do you know that 9 is job 1, 1, isn't it? And what is num? 1. What is column? 1. 10 is what? Job 0, 1. So what is 0? 1 minus 1. And what is the column? 1. Is this understood, everyone? Are you also you understand? So now don't forget that means I will compare what? Temp 1 with temp 2, isn't it? Isn't it? Then what do I write? Then why temp 1? Will I use greater or less now? Because I always use less for ascending in my previous codes, right? And I always greater for what? For descending. If you look at this code, it's more of descending, isn't it? So I now need to write greater than what? Temp 2. Is it understood? And what? And num is what? Greater than 0, as we have done in the previous classes. Is it understood, everyone? So after doing this, if is now greater, what do I do? I will write the array by doing what? So that means if this is more than this, isn't it? I'm supposed to put num in what? Put the previous value in the recent value, isn't it? Is that correct, everybody? According to our explanation on insertion sort, put the previous value in the what? In the current value, isn't it? So what is the current value? What is the current value? Jobs num 1 is the current value. You put the previous value in the current value. Can you still remember my explanation when you did with insertion sort, isn't it? What is the previous value? Jobs. What is the previous value? Jobs what? Jobs what? Jobs num minus 1. What? 1. Is this understood? Is that understood? Is that understood? Good. So after doing this, that means that what I have just done is, if this is less than this, then I write the previous into the what? Into the current. I must also do the same for what? For job number. Is that understood? But I'm not comparing job number. So whenever I swap this or whenever I move this, I must also move this. Is that understood? So that means moving the second one, that should give me what? Jobs what? Num what? 0 is equal to what? Jobs norm what? Norm minus 1 and what? And 0. Understood? The next thing is now what? Decrement norm, isn't it? Then I write that what? Norm is equal to what? Norm minus 1, according to what I've been doing, right? So when everything is now done, then you now put what? The temporary value into the what? Into the current value, isn't it? So that means that I now have that jobs norm, jobs norm, then what? 1 equals what? Temp 1, isn't it? And what? Jobs norm, then job norm what? 0 is equal to what? Equals to what? Is it temp 2? What happens is, because I have moved this to this location, this value has been lost. I was supposed to have kept it in a temporary value. So let me create a temporary value for that. So I create temp 3. Let's say temp 3 to be equal to what? Jobs of what? Of norm what? Norm 0. Is it understood? So that at the end of the day, this becomes what? Jobs norm 0 is equal to, when I started, I was supposed to take 9 into a temporary variable, isn't it? And taking 9 into a temporary variable is what? Is norm 1, isn't it? Is that understood, everyone? So norm 1 is taking what? 9 into a temporary variable. When I took 9 into a temporary variable, I was also supposed to take 526 into another temporary variable. Is that understood? And 526 is what? Is jobs what? 1, 0. Is that understood? And that means I should have a temp 3 as what? Job what? 1, 0. Is that understood? So these two values should be in a temporary variable. Is that understood? So that means I've taken the whole row. Is that understood? Into a temporary variable. So this whole row is now in a temporary variable. Are you all following me? Now that this O is not a variable, I'm now comparing this value with the previous value, isn't it? Yes. Are you all following me? And the previous value is what? Is norm minus 1, 1. Is that correct? So that means I am comparing, so I don't actually need this temporary variable. This one, I don't need it. I only need temp. So let me call this temp 3. Oh, sorry. Temp 2. Is that understood? So this will now be jobs. Why this is greater than jobs? Then what? Norm minus 1. Then column what? 1. Is this understood, everyone? Okay, good. So now I have now compared what? I have now compared 9 with 10. Is that understood? Is that understood? But I did not compare 526 with 12 because it's not necessary. I need to compare 9 with what? With 10. So if 9 is now more than 10, if 9 is more than 10, are you all following me? So that means I should copy 9. I should copy 10 into 9, isn't it? Copy the previous into new. Is that understood? That means I will also copy what? 12 into 526. Is that understood? I will copy 9 into 10 and also copy what? 12 into 526. Was 526 lost? No. I've already copied it to the what? To a temporary variable. Is that understood? So that means copying 9 to 10 means jobs norm 1, which is now the value of 9, the position of 9, isn't it? I'm copying what? 10 into that position. Is that understood? Is equal to what? Jobs norm minus 1, 1. Is that understood? I'll also do the same for what? The other column, right? I will copy 12 into what? 526, which means what? Jobs what? Jobs 1, 0 is equal to what? Jobs 0, 0. Is that understood? Jobs 1, 0 is equal to what? Job 0, 0. So what is job 1, 0? Job 1, 0 is what? Norm 0. What is job 0, 0? Norm minus 1, 0, which is now correct. Is that understood? So when I'm done, Then after this loop is now false, then I now copy the what? This temporary value into the what? Into the current value. Is that understood? Into the current index. Is that correct? What is the temporary value? Temp1 into the current index, and this will also be what? Temp2. Temp2 into the current index. And don't forget that this current index is now what? Is now what? Num minus 1. Is no longer num, because num is now num minus 1. Is this understood?
Yeah.
Is this understood?
Yes, sir.
Good. So, according to this line of code and according to my previous video, this is everything about insertion sort, isn't it? And that is all. So simple. That is insertion sort. Now, the next question. The next question now states, that is question F. The procedure print array, another procedure. If you did not write your main function in a function, make sure all functions comes before it. Is that understood? Since we've written our main in a function, you don't have to worry about that. Is that understood? So let's move to the next one. The next one now says the procedure print array. So I have def print array. Okay, the procedure print array. Output, does it require a parameter? No. Okay. Now, question now says outputs. Outputs each job number and priority on the line. For example, job number, priority, job number, priority. Write program code for the procedure print array. So where do we have this? It's in the array, isn't it? So that means we need to output this from the array. Is that understood? So let us call back the array as a global variable, which is what? Jobs. And also what? Global what? Number of jobs. We want to print everything in this array indirectly, isn't it? So to print everything in this array, we need to print, what do we print first? The column 0 and column 1. Is that understood? So that means we need to take each of the row one by one. So we take one row, print the first column, print the second column. Take another row, print the first column, print the second column. Take another row, print the first column, print the second column until we are done. Is that understood? Is that understood, everyone? So how do we now take each of the column? We use a what? A for loop. For num in what? In range of, do I write length of array? No. What do I write? Number of jobs. Why don't I use length of array? Because length of array has 100 elements but not 100 jobs. Is that understood? We are dealing with the number of jobs. So this will now take each of the row. Is that understood? So what am I outputting? Each of the column. Is that understood? So that means I have to print. What am I printing? Format. Okay. What is the first thing to print? The first value in the what? In the column 0. Is that understood? So how do I print column 0? Column 0 should be what? Should be jobs. Jobs what? Num. Job num 0. That is the first column. Is that understood? Then after printing that, what is the next thing? Priority. Priority. Okay, sorry, that should not be in this bracket. It should be outside of the bracket. Then priority. So what is the next column? That will be what? That should be jobs, number, and what? And 1. Is that understood? So I'm printing the first column, priority, the second column. So it goes to another row. When row is now 1, first column, second column, goes to another row, first column, second column, goes to another row until it is done with the number of jobs. Is that understood, everyone? Is that understood, everyone? Good. Sorry, for num in the range. Yes, I'm correct. This is correct. Range means 0 to number of jobs. So according to this question, we are done. Is that correct? Yes, we are done. So we'll be able to print that, and that is all. Is this understood? The next question, question G. Now, the main program. the main program needs to sort the array and then output the content of the array. Amend the main program. By right now, we are asked to amend. So that means we have to go back to the main program to amend. Are you all following me? To amend. By what? By what? Writing the program go to call insertion sort and what? Print array. Call insertion sort and print array. So let's call insertion sort. Insertion sort. And let's call what? Print array. Oh, sorry. That should be print array. Okay. All of the question answers. Is that all? Yes. Bonus. Test your program. Now let's test our program. We've been working since morning. Let's test our program to see if we are going to have issues or errors. Are we ready? Yeah. Oh, good. On this add job, there is no global. Then it will not run. Do you know? Global number of jobs. Then global jobs. Is this understood? So let's check again. Is all functions as the global? Okay, good. Now running this code. Yeah, it's not running. Why? Because we did not call the main function. If you did not write your main function as a function, it will have run. Do you know? But because you wrote it as a function, that means you must call the main function. And when do you call the main function? After all codes at the end is where you call your main function. Is that understood? Okay, good. So let's run this now. Okay, good. So let's take a look at it. Is it sorted? 10, 9, 9, 8, 1. Added. So for 10, what is the, if you look at this, what is the power job number for 10? It should be what? It should be 12. For the first 9 is what? 526. For the second 9 is 12, 8, 33, 178. Is this understood, everyone? Please give me a round of applause. So that is how to clap for me, right?